that meeting, people? Like I said, they're going to talk about an on-site in Surrey, which I fully agree. It's been something that's been needed for a long freaking time. See? All over. Okay, people. There's that house. They got a for rent sign up on there. Right. Hold on. Okay, so we're going to try it from this position. All right. Remember, I can't see on the other side, so I can only look into the lens and kind of guesstimate that I'm within the frame, right? So what is it? I think it's past midnight now, so it'd be like October 13th, 2016. Obviously talking to Uncle John, right? Saying, look, John, I'm still talking to you after all this time. Like, that's fucked up, right? Don't you think? Asking him what I'd be doing if he was home. Would I be wheeling him around, helping him to go to the washroom, or would he be doing it on his own, you know? Would he be exercising? Since he's been gone, has he been doing like lots of exercising? Because Uncle John didn't like to exercise, right? Especially when Auntie Joan moved in. When Auntie Joan moved in, he pretty much became kind of just stagnant to a chair. Because she liked to keep him right there, right? So he became lethargic, right? And then it kind of became habitual, right? And he wasn't exercising and moving around as much as he used to. So, and then by the time he got up here, he was already half the size he was before Joan moved in. And I mean, he walked around and stuff like that, but and then just sat. So, I'm thinking, well, when they took him, they were like throwing a ball at him. And I'm like, why are you throwing a ball at a blind man? How do you expect a blind man to catch a ball? Right? Because that was the game that they played with the other residents. So somebody would throw a ball and it would like kind of go between the old people or whoever it was in their circle, right? At the temporary care ward, it wasn't all old people, right? And most of them could see, if not all of them could see. I think John was probably the only blind one in there. So I'm asking him, would I be wheeling you around in a wheelchair? Would I be doing? Would we be living in this house? But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I want to talk about this house across the street here, and how the people of this community. I don't know about all of them, because I haven't gone door to door to ask. But I'm thinking I should. But I don't know when I'm going to find the time to do it, right? But, I'm having confrontation people, like, over trying to rent a house. The old MCFD house, the Children and Family Development House. Right? After the Wolfpack moved in and Wolfpack moved out, that house has been sitting empty for like 3 months. And it has a for rent sign up on top for the main suite at $1,500 for a 3-bedroom, which is way overpriced in terms of, a 3-bedroom should be $1,000, right? It's bad enough they were trying to charge 12. Now they're charging 15 for something that should be 900. So between the property sales selling at overinflated prices, because there was some mad money laundering going on in this province, right? Even though it's slowed down, I'm sure it's still going on. It pushed a lot of people out of their houses with rents that they technically couldn't afford, to jack up those same houses in their mortgages and their rents so that nobody can afford it. That used to live there, that is. So you'd have to bring in either more immigrants that have good paying jobs, even though they can't speak English. So if they're in the healthcare system and they're working in the healthcare system and their English skills aren't very good, but yet they're being hired on as professionals, and we know how professionals carry themselves within this province, because we know what happened to Uncle John with all those immigrant workers that could barely speak English, if at all. No, are they the ones renting these houses that nobody can afford anymore? So anyway, I phoned when the sign first went up, which was 2 months ago, after they fixed the drywall and everything, because the wolf pack went in there and didn't pay rent apparently for 3 months, 4 months, and had a house wrecking party and all this other stuff. So everybody on that corner there is all freaked out as to who's going to move in. And I've made 4 inquiries already on this house. And I'm telling you, this is discrimination. This is what I told my neighbor over there who creeps my YouTube videos. Because she had the audacity to scream at me, basically. Well, you can't even afford to pay your own rent. How do you expect to pay that one? Because the first time I phoned the owner said, upstairs is $1,500 for a 3-bedroom, and somebody's going to be living downstairs. And I'm like, that's too much money for a 3-bedroom. And I forgot about it, thinking, okay, well, somebody's going to want it. They're going to move in at $1,500, right? Since all the rich are moving into the community as the poor are being flushed out, right? Well, anyway, 2 months later, the sign is still sitting there. So I thought, oh, just call, see if you can rent it at $1,500, because winter is coming, people. And there's a lot of homeless people out here, including my own daughter. I don't have a car. I'm not well, so I don't have a lot of energy to go very far. But to walk across the street and check up on the house is practical for me, right? And if the housing market is $1,500 for a 3-bedroom of a main floor of a house, and if that's all you can get, then I told myself, well, just phone and see if you can get it. Make the application, right? And you'll find somebody to move in. There's more than enough people out here that need housing. Okay? So I go across the street and I see the neighbor out there working in her yard. And the last time I made inquiries, I actually phoned the realtor and I met with the realtor out there, but by sneaky chance, as I went out to go meet the realtor, she showed up. Like a busybody. And of course, because she's the neighbor, she's laid claim on this property. And because I had mentioned before, right, when the car accident happened out there, which I have video of, that I wanted to rent that house, right, for, housing with the foundation, right? It's not recovery. Some people call it second stage, whatever. Just housing. Bring in program development, that kind of stuff. She gave me flack then. The first time I mentioned it, when they had the car accident. So, of course, when I met with the realtor, right, she was out there, like I said, just all of a sudden, and she had to put her 2 cents in and be loud about it, right, saying, oh, no, not after we just went through, no way, nah. And I'm like, well, first of all, we haven't even given it a chance yet. And, the wolf pack is not what I'm trying to do, right? I'm not renting it for a bunch of hoodlums. I'm renting it for vulnerable people that need housing. Some of them have issues. Some of them don't. Personally, I think we all have issues. Everybody. But nobody wants to acknowledge their own issues. So besides that point, I'm like really tired. I've been doing lots of walnuts. So, and I should be doing walnuts right now, but I'm taking a break tonight. So, of course, she sabotaged that, right? The realtor, just blew me off, right? Because she didn't have anything good to say. And because she was the neighbor and she suffered at the hands of the wolf pack and, almost got hit because somebody was driving down the road at high speed and swerved off and hit their rocks and flew into the tree, even though other people that had nothing to do with the wolf pack have flown down the same freaking road at high speed and crashed into her yard before. So I'm pretty sure she said at one point when they had that car crash that somebody else had crashed into the yard. So it's because of the location on the turn of the road, right? That people just kind of go like that. But besides that point, so I thought, okay, let it go, right? It's not worth the argument because I did phone him back and he just hummed and hawed. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. He was on the golf course. And of course, realtor on the golf course, very successful man. Had no time for someone like me. Okay, so I let it go. I figured that place would have rented because the housing out here is tight, right? But $1,500 for a 3-bedroom main floor is kind of expensive, right? Because it's just white collar criminal activity going on out here. And, nobody stops. Well, I don't know what they call it. Price gouging. This is price gouging. So it's sitting empty. And it's been like that for, 2-3 months, 4 months now? About 4 months. The sign has been up for over 2. It's going into the 3rd month. So I thought, fuck it. Phone. See if you can put an application in. You have your references. Right? It makes sense for me because it's just across the street. So it's much easier for me to go every day and check in. Or if an emergency happens, I'm right there because I'm just across the street. And so I go to get the number. And of course I see her out there. So I thought, well, before I make the phone call, I better put my feelers out and, and express myself to this woman because it would be better if she, gave you her blessings, right? Her moral support, her helping hand, in the event you do get it, right? Because the more that are helpful, the more successful it will be, right? Well, what a mistake that was, people, because all it was is just a fucking hate fest, right? It was a fucking, I said, why are you attacking me and her neighbor, right? They ganged up on me, like that little mob mentality. I said, why are you talking to me? Well, you can't do that. I'm gonna phone the landlord, tell her not to rent it out to you. Blah, blah, blah. They're pigs, the homeless people are this, and blah, 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 and just all kinds of crazy crap. Ain't nothing all fucking negative, right? And I'm like, you don't think I don't know? I live in this neighborhood, right? Tried to blow it off like nobody's dying in the bush. I reminded her that 2 people died just over here. Because, one, they don't report it on mainstream media, local news stations, right? Because then people would get concerned and they care more, right? And 2, people like my neighbors over there, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear how people are dying out here in the bush over there, dying over there in the bush over there, because if they actually knew about it and accepted it for what it was, instead of like treating these people like criminals, just so that they don't have to take no responsibility for the situation. Because she threw at me, well, it's the city. It's the city that's supposed to provide housing. Well, what are you going to do by yourself? You can't even afford to pay your own rent. I said, oh, so you must be creeping my YouTube videos. Is that it? She didn't really say anything. Because she is. Right? She's probably one of those ones doing the thumb down. 4 doors down from me. Because she's in her bubble. You know, and I called her on it. I said, look, you got an inheritance. Right? So you don't have to worry about housing. Right? You're good to go. No matter what. And you get to plant your flowers and whatever it is. And just go on your merry way. Right? Where other people, well, I worked for it. So she just, I worked for it. Yeah, no, you don't work. I said, I don't work. I said, I work on a nonprofit. I even came home after the first conversation with her, which was just, you know, I tried to explain to her that there are women out there getting beat, raped, murdered. And these are the people that I'm trying to help. Right? No name specific. Not to mention what the men go through. She just didn't care, people. She just didn't fucking care. Well, if my daughter went off and did drugs, I'd beat the shit out of her. Well, you know, saying something and actually doing something are two different things. So what you say that you would do in the event of, even though you know it's not going to fucking happen, because I reminded her that, first of all, her daughter more than likely won't do drugs because she's past that vulnerable stage of between the ages of 11 and 18. Her daughter is older than 18. 18 and up. And if she hasn't fallen victim to that lifestyle because it was introduced to her in school at age 12 or 13, chances are she's not going to become a freaking fucking addict at 19. So when you say you're going to beat your kid when your kid starts drugs, knowing that your kid's not going to fucking do it, it becomes a moot point. It's insignificant, irrelevant. Because at the bottom line there, you just don't fucking care. That's what it is. They just don't care. They have their perfect world showing how perfect that they are. And I said to her, oh, so all this stuff in your yard, it means nothing. It means nothing. It looks good on the outside. It looks good on the outside. But what the fuck is on the inside? Right? When you see my daughter walk down the street, oh, well, she was tweaking. Well, yeah. Because she hasn't recovered from what happened to her in December of 2012, people. And I told her, I blame the social workers for this. Oh, don't blame the social workers. I said, no, I do. Because they're the ones that kicked her out in the middle of fucking winter. No methadone, no shelter, no food, no money, no family support. Well, where were you? Well, I was obviously at home with Andre and trying to keep everybody at home fucking grounded as the shit was hitting the fan and we didn't know what was coming. Ow. Are you listening to this? Ow. Are you listening? Ow! Are you listening? Ow! Are you listening? Ah! So it didn't matter what I was saying. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. I tried to even fucking plead with her. Right? But she'd rather them running around in the fucking neighborhood, dying in the alley, creeping her yard at night, busting into her garage, whatever, busting into my garage, busting into, sleeping over there, sleeping underneath the tree there, sleeping in the fucking doghouse, going in the freaking ravine. And she was treating me like I was the one that created 2,000 freaking homeless people in the fucking city of Surrey. And I said, why are you treating me like I'm the one that created the problem? Well, you can't do nothing. You're by yourself. What you gonna do? I said, well, we start with the one house, and it starts with opportunity. It's an avenue to get creative and to build skills and to gain, to get experience. And once we get that experience, I promise you, we'll pack up and get the fuck out of there and leave you the hell alone and go somewhere else. But in the meantime, we got to start with what we got. And there's something across the street that's being held up in the community like a freaking carrot, just teasing everybody. Because as I've been going to go get the walnuts with my grandson, there's homeless people all over the place, people, right? Somebody moved in onto that property up in that lot over there, right? Over a period of 4 or 5 days, he gave my grandson a couple pairs of glasses and gave me a hat that I'm going to put an X on and a beautiful shell. You can see this nice little shell he gave me, right? I gave him some food. I gave him some canned salmon, canned jam, and canned pears. He had to pack up and move out today, though, right? The city's apparently left him a note and said, we see that you put a tent up, so you need to get up off the property because they don't let nobody camp out here. As soon as they notice the tents, they come in and the guy said, if I don't pack my stuff up and get it out of here now, if I go away, I'll come back and they'll take absolutely everything. Everything. And guess what? He is trying to make inquiries about the same house. Because I went and I asked him. I said, why are you having a difficult time with housing? Because I called these people over here. I said, you're discriminating against the homeless people when you're not allowing them to rent housing because you're assuming that they're the fucking wolf pack just because they have issues. Right? Basically. Oh no, I'm not discriminating. Well, if you're standing there arguing constantly that you don't want nobody moving in unless they fit your fucking criteria, but yet you like to stand there and watch them walk up and down the street so that you can gossip about them, but you don't want to fucking help them, and your way of helping is taking a bag, dropping it off at the front room that you don't even have the balls to go into and see for yourself what it's like in the shelter, thinking that you're making a difference when in fact this little bag that you dropped off at the fucking shelter, chances are being rooted through, picked through, and then what's left over is donated to the some other organization that comes and picks it up and sells it someplace else. And whatever her donations were, don't even get to the people. I have that documented on several videos, people, of me already out there talking about that issue. So for her donation is, again, it's a moot point. It's irrelevant. It doesn't make a difference. Not in the real world when people are struggling just to survive on the street as the city is constantly harassing them. And if they're not harassing them, they're taking their stuff. And then you get the neighbors screaming, well, they need to go get a job. Maybe if they got a job, because I have a job. I've been working since I've been 2. I've been working since I've been 2, people. 2 years old, I've been working. So therefore, that makes me somehow better than you. And I'm like, okay, lady. Well, it's obvious you're fucking hostile. So just don't talk to me no more. You know, don't call my name. Don't call my grandson's name. Don't. You know, you see me. Don't say nothing because you're too hostile. She thinks she owns that fucking house. She thinks she's not a fucking bigot in terms of prejudice and discriminatory behavior and all this other crap. She thinks she's the only one in this whole fucking community that is struggling, even though she's the one sitting on a fucking nest egg because her mom passed and left her some money that Fraser Health decided to let her keep. But we know how Fraser Health works. So, you know, it's just a ticking time bomb with that one. Anytime there's money, you know, somebody's looking over somebody's shoulder, trying to figure out how they're going to fucking get it. And as for the other neighbor, sure, she might be working now, and she's all, you know, I said, but what's going to happen when you get sick? And you can't pay your rent because your income dropped or you got sick. I explained to the fella in the field over there, I said, you know what, if you don't get this house, because I had a sneaky feeling everybody's got their eyeballs on this house because people need housing. But the landlord is holding out for the top dollar with the perfect fucking tenant. Right? Well, everybody else around them is just getting sicker. Basically. These people are just getting sicker. And winter's coming now. Surrey flu. It goes through every fucking year. That's what wiped us out last year, people. That's what wiped us out. That's what wiped out Uncle John. That's what wiped out me. I slept for over a week, people. John is the one who watched Andre and held down the house. And then the second week, I was just coming out of it, but I was still sleeping. And then John got it. Well, that same flu is coming through again. Every year, it always does. And this woman just wants to, these women, more than one, you know, they just want to be looky-loos out their fucking windows, casting their fucking stones, like, honest to God. You know, crying about how they're the victims. Because they're camping out in the alley. They're camping out in the greenbelt. But they won't allow them to move into a house that's been sitting empty for like months. And then accuse me of doing absolutely nothing. Well, you don't do nothing. You're nobody. I went with my income statement and my expense report for 2012. It's finished. I have to do 13, 14, and 15. And she wouldn't take it. Because I went back. I said, look, here, I work on a legit nonprofit. Here. No, I don't need it. Well, she probably already seen it on my YouTube. So somehow that makes her think she knows everything, right? So I don't know, people. This is why the housing that we have out here is being run by fucking, some of them are being run by gangsters. Seriously. In terms of these little recovery houses, because it's just a flapjack to make fucking $17,000 a month off these people. If they bring in the methadones and all the kickbacks that come in with it, and that kind of stuff, they charge them $500 a month. They put 16 to 18 people into a 5 or 6 bedroom house, right? And then I say the kickbacks with the methadone and all this other crap. I've been quoted that these houses that temporarily provide shelter, they pull in like $17,000 a month. And the profit, I don't know what the profit margin on that one would be, but it doesn't go back into the people. It goes into the pocket of the one doing this stuff. So that could be another reason why I'm having a difficult time getting housing. And, you know, this wolf pack doing whatever. I mean, for all we know, it could have been a just big fucking setup just to perpetrate that old okie dokie, you know. If you let the rowdies in, if you let the sickies in, you know, if you let the addicts in, you know, if you let the mentally ill in, if you let the homeless in, you know, you're just asking for trouble. So we'll just leave them out on the streets and we'll bring in the wolf pack to, you know, stamp that message home, and we'll have some loud fucking mouth there in the neighborhood making sure everybody knows that that's her piece of property and nobody gets to go in unless she gives the green pass, basically. Well, I'm a nobody, right? I'm a nobody. I don't do anything. I can't afford to pay my own rent, so therefore I have no right to say anything. You know, I reminded her that I do pay $1,700 a month. But I think she was more leaning towards, well, you don't work, you know, you're on welfare. Again, you're a nobody, you're insignificant, your nonprofit doesn't mean anything. You know, I'm surprised she didn't take it and rip it up in front of me and throw it down on the fucking ground, basically. So, Surrey, I don't know, again, I don't know about all the residents. I'd have to go from door to door to door and ask each door that I knock on to give me $20 to put into a fucking pot so that I can go off and rent a single house by itself and, you know, work on the nonprofit and house some people that could really benefit from housing. You know, to ask people to go to work when they're fucking homeless is the most asinine thing that you can only imagine. You know, they're sick, they're not well, they're being abused socially, physically, psychologically, mentally, just all of it. You know, it's just being homeless is just social abuse. It really is. It's social neglect, right? I have been homeless, people. I'm telling you, it is social neglect. And when you have people that defend it, that it's socially acceptable to say, well, if it was my kid, I'd beat their fucking ass. Either one, these are people that don't have kids and will never have kids. So first of all, they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. They only think they know what they're talking about. Or they have one kid, you know, one kid that made it through because they got lucky, basically. But the way society is, all you have to do is look into these other countries where drugs have been introduced into the mainstream social atmosphere, like in places like Russia and, you know, certain other Asian countries where opiates are rampant. Well, that's what's happening out here in Canada and the United States now. So every year that goes by, more and more kids are at risk, and certain kids are being targeted, and they're being targeted through a network of criminal activity that has a political stronghold on the housing market, and you know, drug syndicates and all that stuff, right? You know, it doesn't benefit to help people get off of drugs, because then who's going to buy the drugs? So we have to look at it from that factor. So for all I know, those people could be drug dealers, and that's why they don't want to help homeless people, because they need their cash cow. They have to keep them homeless and drug addicted in order to be able to plant more flowers. Right? Maybe it wasn't an inheritance after all. Maybe it's drug money. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, people do the strangest thing for money, right? They really do. So anyway, I tried to again rent this house, but I told her I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna rock the boat. If you're, you know, it's not, you know, I got other battles to fight, right? And I felt really bad for this guy over here, because I know I had a feeling he was asking, and he was, and he thanked me for telling him why he wouldn't get it, or even have the opportunity to maybe get it, because he's already being discriminated against from the neighborhood before he even got to go inside and look around. Right? So we can add on another 100 more people by the end of the year in terms of homelessness out in the streets, with the up and coming evictions and higher rents, because none of that's going to stop, people. That's going to keep going. The only thing that's not going to stop, well, the only thing that nothing, the homeless numbers are going to keep going up. The housing, the price gouging is going to keep going up. The less housing in terms of like available suites is going to keep going up. It's dumb. We live in hell. This is hell. Welcome to hell. Okay, so what is it? October 12th, 2016. Andre, there's a car coming. You can see a little for rent sign there, right? I got into a big kerfuffle about this house yesterday. This is the old MCFD house where the wolf pack moved in and did whatever. Well, anyway, this thing has been sitting empty for like 3-4 months now. I want to rent it, as I've been wanting to rent it like ever since it's been vacant, and got into a huge argument with my neighbors, 2 of them yesterday, who seem to think that they own this block, telling me that they're going to phone up the owner of this house and tell him not to rent to me because, you know, basically they're discriminating against homeless people. So I'm going to go take it home and I'm going to talk about it. Hold on.